Book 1 and 2 is an interesting game that tries to be different from normal RPGs, with its unique battle system, but its boring dungeons and bad gameplay flow make it a bit tedious to play. Like always, I like to lay my cards on the table so you know my bias towards any game that I'm reviewing. I am a huge fan of both Lunar games from the 90s. I think Lunar 2 could be the best RPG ever made, with Lunar 1 coming in a close second. I've owned and still own every version of Lunar out there. In fact, I still listen to some of the songs in my car from time to time. Before someone asks, yes, I have played a lot of RPGs since Lunar 2 first came out on the Sega CD. I played Final Fantasy games, Shadow Hearts, Lufia, and a couple others. I did find a great game last year named Persona 3, even though it was easy. So when I was researching whether or not I should buy and review this game, I had quite a few people compare this game to Lunar, so I knew I had to give it a try. But I think the only thing this game has in common with Lunar is the cutscenes, which were outstanding.
Ys, a kingdom ruled by the wisdom and charity of its 6 powerful priests. An empire watched over and blessed by the enchanting aura of its 2 beautiful goddesses. Ys, the seemingly tranquil paradise suddenly pulled from the height of its civilization to the empty abyss of infinite isolation.
And without those cutscenes, I never would have known this game was called Ys. I do have to comment that even though the game looks like it should be called Wise, they pronounce it Ys. This game was originally a TurboGrafx game, and I'm impressed with the quality of the game in the cutscenes that were made in 1987. I can't believe that there were games out there that had such great sound and voices in it at the time for a home console. Let me start with the graphics for the game itself. I think they were quite nice and quite appropriate for the time period. They seem to flow nicely with the cutscenes. The music was also outstanding. There were a couple tracks that will keep you humming to yourself while you're alone, at work, or at school. The battle system was a little bit strange. The enemies will just show up on the screen instead of you jumping into a turn-based battle. You just fight them by walking into them. There was very little strategy to fighting any of them. If you're fighting a stronger enemy, just walk into them and then back away so they can't counterattack, and then rinse and repeat. Suffice it to say that the combat got really boring, but not easy. You would die often in the game, and so you would have to save often. And it's very helpful that you could save any time. Annoyingly though, the enemies would respawn if you moved more than a few feet, so it's a constant battle in either avoiding them or keeping yourself alive. The game makes it a little bit easier for you when it refills your hit points, which I appreciated. However, when you get into the caves, this is where I think the game takes a really bad turn. It turns into a maze game, which I think is the worst thing about any RPG. It's very common in RPGs to have dungeons like a mini maze. However, the game takes it up a level that borders on obnoxious. Imagine a maze that's made of hundreds of twists and turns and dead ends. Then throw in enemies that respawn wherever you walk 2 feet. Then make all the areas look the same, and you basically have this game. The maze dungeons are even more annoying in the fact that it doesn't heal you automatically like the outside. So you better stock up on healing potions or you're screwed. But even with healing potions, the game is still very hard. I had a very hard time trying to figure out the mazes while trying to keep myself alive. I really wanted to test this game out, but I couldn't do that when I died before I could get anywhere. So I did what most people would do if they had the chance. I cheated. Thank you, GameFAQs, for the password code for Basically Invulnerability. And while I'm on the subject, a 63 character password screen? This has got to be one of the most excessive code screens I've ever seen. And were all these G's and H's really necessary? Okay, now I'm super powerful, and I can work on the caves without having to worry about the enemies. I only have a vague idea what I'm looking for, and I stumble around the caves for a couple hours until I just give up. This was truly the most annoying RPG I've ever played. Its potential was wasted by making its main feature the game's dungeon mazes. While I was really impressed with the music, cutscenes, and even the graphics at times, the boring battle system and the tedious dungeon crawling made the game unfun for me. However, I know there are people out there that like dungeon crawling maze games. And if you are one of those people, you will enjoy this game. So if this game sounds appealing to you, download it now.